Hey everyone, this is Eric with Verse Design, and I am bringing you episode 2 of the Island Retreat, which is series 3 of Let's Build a House. And yeah, so I'm deciding to probably name the Let's Build series I do, seeing as I do them in speed build version, I can finish them a lot faster rather than a lot of other Let's Build series that are real time, so they take a lot longer than mine do. So yeah, I think we're going to start naming them. So this one is going to be Island Retreat because, well, it's an island retreat. One thing that I didn't care for at the end of last episode was the shape of the house, like the overall shape. I like that it was really long and narrow and flat. And I think that looked cool against the backdrop of the garden that you could see behind the house. So it had this like layered effect that I really liked, and I wanted to keep doing. But I just was lost on how to do it. And throughout this whole episode, I kind of struggle with just the shape of the front part of the house. We don't really do a whole lot in this episode other than the front of the house. So yeah, this is what we're doing right now. We are trying to get the shape right. There's weird proportion issues. The thing about doing a build so simple and doing something minimalist is that if the proportion isn't exactly right, and if it looks like a little bit off, you're going to notice because it's not overly detailed. It's really simple. So you notice things like that. So that's one thing I'm really trying to do in this episode is just get the proportion really right and get the style of the house down that I want so I can start doing the exterior. I want to do a really cool outdoor garden. So I'm really looking forward to that in the next episode. And yeah, so here we start running with the whole separate buildings vibe. I know that that's fairly common, or I mean, I guess it happens in island style houses. You have like outdoor living because it's an island. So yeah, that's one thing that we're going for in this build is like separate buildings. So far there's 3 separate buildings. But I'm going to work on expanding the floor space just so this turns out to be a large house and not like a small little tiny house on a 64 by 64 lot. So yeah, that's something we're going to work on too, is making the house a little bit bigger. And at the end of the episode, we make it considerably bigger, and you'll see that soon. And yeah, just working on, like I said, proportion issues out on the front. I like this roof that goes all the way over the house, but I don't know. There's something about it that's just weird to me. Something I want to change, but I don't know what yet. I don't feel the need for there to be a roof over the 2 buildings. There can definitely be some separation. But yeah, leave in the comments below what you think I should do. At the end of the episode, I take one of the suggestions that I got on YouTube, which was to add like a boat parking area in the middle of the house so you can drive the boat up into that empty space, which I toyed around with that idea in the first episode, but it didn't stick. And I think it's just going to be the most like realistic way to add a boat. I don't even know if it's called parking, but just to add like a boat area to add a couple speedboats. So that's what we do at the end of the episode. We add that there. And yeah, so I liked the flat design of this house, but here we tossed the idea around of maybe doing a 2-story design and having part of it be 1-story, part of it be 2-story. And I still like that idea. I just don't think it works for this build specifically. So yeah, leave in the comments below whether you want to see this house 1 or 2 stories. I have the feeling I'm probably going to get mixed reactions and get people on both sides of the fence, but so far, I'm leaning towards 1 story, at least a flat design, potentially a downstairs basement, but I don't know. That's to come, ... So that hasn't happened yet. And yeah, here we are extending the roof over, just doing like a floating roof design, and it just doesn't look good. So we come back in and do some editing, take it back down to 1 story instead of 2, and then we go with that kind of concept, like a 1 story instead of 2, because it was just way too big. It looked like a monstrosity coming out of the ocean. It just has to be 1 story, I think. So yeah. And the whole like on the rocks like style for this house where it's like built on top of a rock platform is going to become a little bit more prevalent, and we're going to use that idea more. We're going to basically build the entire front of the house on rocks. so it looks like it's built over the water. And yeah, I think it's going to come out looking really sweet. So far, I really like the design of it, but you'll see at the end of this episode, there's just some design things that are off that really need to be remedied in episode 3. And if you have any requests, anything you'd like to see, anything you think that I should be doing that I'm not, because something's definitely missing in this build. It's missing something. So yeah, leave below in the comments. And that's what it looks like 2-story with glass all the way, or mostly all the way around it. And at that point, I just realized, no, it's just not going to work. So we bring back in this 1-story design. And for the style house that it is, just like this easygoing, like island retreat house, 2 stories just seems extensive. It seems like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me. So 1 story is the way we stick with it for now. And I'm not sure exactly what we're doing. Oh, that's right. I was coming in to see if it's possible to put in a 2nd floor underneath the master suite. And that's something that we're going to try in episode 3. I haven't tried it yet. But yeah, we're going to try and see if we can add a downstairs area to it, because that would expand the house a little bit too. And here's the like bed of rocks design we were going with, just tossing in all different shapes and sizes down here. And eventually we'll knock out the rest of that foundation underneath the new part of the house. And yeah, so that will give it this like vibe that it is totally supported by the rocks underneath it, which honestly is probably like super unrealistic. That's probably like impossible, but it's The Sims, who cares? So it looks cool, so we go with it. And yeah, the rock work really, for some reason, it stresses my computer out. It does not like it when I use the Island Paradise rocks. But it becomes a fairly extensive part of this build using the rocks, and just being out in the ocean, it's so fitting. So I've done it for a lot of my builds, being that they're all in Aluna Island, but that's another thing I want to like branch out and do. I want to start building in worlds that aren't Aluna Island. And I've just been on the trend of building Aluna Island builds because, I mean, it just came out and all of the lots are blank. Honestly, that's the biggest draw for me, is that I can build the whole city. I don't have to go through and spend 20 minutes deleting all of the lots, and you know what I mean? It's just like ready for me to build the whole city myself. And so we've been doing that, but I want to build a couple houses that aren't so islandy, and I think we're going to do one of those for a speed build or something soon. And yeah, adding in some like smaller detail rocks at the bottom. I end up not liking how they are so much, so I layer some more rocks over it, but it's nothing huge. We end that side soon with the rock work, and then we adjust the shape of the house on that side kind of drastically. I just felt like there was this disconnect between the front of the house and the master suite, and that it just didn't feel like a connected design. And like I said in my previous episode, I did want it to be very disconnected. I wanted the master suite to have its obvious privacy, but it's just on its own in the back of the house. It just looks sad back there. So I extended this part of the house, the new part on the rocks, and I extend that outward towards the master suite, and it looks a lot better. I think the T-shaped design works a lot better. And yeah, we are just deleting the foundation and getting this house completely on the terrain and on the rocks, so it looks like that's how it's built without a foundation, just like on top of the rocks and terrain. And I don't know, it looks good. I like how it looks so far, but it's going to need a lot more work. I need a lot more rock work in the back specifically. I haven't done anything in the back, so yeah. And there was one other thing we did in this episode that was kind of big. Oh, no, that's right. We cut that out for for episode 3. There's a little surprise for episode 3, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. In episode 3, I think I only have part of it filmed so far as I'm recording this commentary, but it's going to be a lot more of a productive episode. We do a lot more of the exterior and start getting the final look for the exterior. And yeah, this is what I was talking about, extending this side of the house. We like make it a little bit larger just because the house is feeling small. It's not feeling like a large island retreat like luxurious house. It's feeling like a kind of a small house. So we're gonna do what we can to make it larger, but still like keep the design integrity. And that is the basic shape at the end of this episode. I think that it looks better than it did before, but it still needs some work. So yeah, that's for episode 3. And this is just minor adjusting for the terrain. I really liked how the terrain was raised just when I downloaded Luna Island. So we're trying to keep the terrain similar to how it was because I liked how I had this big hill in like one part of it and I wanted to build the house around it. So that's what we do. And yeah, this part is so tedious. Just deleting these rocks so they don't intersect the foundation so I can delete the foundation. It's just not fun. Oh yeah, the one other major thing, that's right, we do right here. We knock out this center walkway, like outdoor area in the front of the house, and we put in like the boat parking area. The dock. Dock, that's what it's called, a dock. So yeah, it has like a dock, I guess, in the front of the house. And I like how it turns out, but I'm open to changing it because I like the long continuous shape that it has now. So yeah, just leave below in the comments which design you like, the before the dock or after the dock, and we'll kind of try to implement whichever one's more popular. Because honestly, I'm on the fence about it right now. I like both of them, so. Yeah, and we should be doing that relatively soon. We should be knocking out that floor right there and adding the dock area. The only thing I dislike about adding the dock is that it limits the amount of outdoor deck space on the house, and that's what I really liked. There was this big open, like exaggerated blank area in the house, and I could put like literally whatever I want out there. There's like plenty of space, so yeah, losing that is not fantastic, but I think the dock parking in the house is really cool too. So yeah. And this is the part I was talking about, eliminating these rocks and so I can get the foundation deleted the way I want. And it's not fun. It is not a fun task, but we get it done so I can put in this this dock area. And there it goes, the rocks not being kind again, taking forever to delete. It seemed way longer when I was playing the game. And yeah, we just like lower that terrain area right there and give it a sand texture and smooth it out a little bit. And yeah, that's the basic like shape that we're going to go with. It needs a little bit more smoothing and a little bit more attention to detail in the front, but that's what I think we're going to go with. Unless I get a lot of people telling me they'd rather it not be open like that in the middle, then we'll try something else. And also we're going to adjust in the backyard how you enter the master suite, because the way that it is now, it has like a really weird exit from the house, and it's something I've been like playing around with and keeping in the back of my mind with the design the entire time, and yeah, it really needs to change. So we're going to change that in episode 3. And yeah, this little bit of rock work is really the last of what we do. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this second episode of the Island Retreat Let's Build a House. And I will have a third and a fourth episode up about 24 hours after this one goes live. All right, thanks guys. See you in the next one.